relationships throughout the course of our lives. So it's good to know how to navigate them and how to be strategic and intentional. So thank you for joining. I'm going to share why this event is going to be perfect for those of you that joined. It's perfect for you if you want to put on a mindset shift of intentionality as we move into a brand new year. Relationships are important. So if you want to be intentional about your relationships, this event is for you. If you're feeling a sense of disappointment, anxiety, or even depression because of changing relationships happening, this event is for you. If the thought of shifting relationships in your life makes you a little bit anxious or a lot anxious, this is for you. And if you're grieving the loss or the shift in the dynamics with a loved one that's maybe left a void, this is a great event for you. And the image I chose on the screen is, I was very deliberate about that. I saw a really cool meme going around Facebook about what happens if you spill a cup of coffee. Is it because someone bumped into you, or is it because the coffee was in your cup? What's in your cup? We want to fill your cup up with all the good things so that what comes spilling out into your relationships is good. So this event is not for you if you want tips on how to fix someone else, if you want a quick fix to relationship challenges, or if you think fulfilling relationships is someone else's responsibility. Relationships start by having that full cup yourself. So we're going to talk about how to do that today. But first, let's jump in. I'm Barbara Zinda. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am a single mom of 2 boys who I raised from age 3 and 5 to now they're 24 and 26. As a single mom, it was a lot to navigate, but I eventually got to the empty nest in 2020, which was not an easy time for many people. We were going through the pandemic, and for me personally, I went from a very busy, boisterous, dirty house full of socks and dishes and people to cook for, to a lot of silence and isolation. And I had to reflect myself on what I wanted to be happy and how I wanted to navigate life. Through that process, I found that I have a lot of love to give, and so I became a dog mom. You can see in the picture there, that's my dog Oliver. He's been a great companion for me as I've navigated into the empty nest. And I made some shifts in my life. I decided that I wanted to go back to school and study psychology. So back in May of 2023, I started working towards eventually my PhD in psychology, and I've had a lot of fun. It's shifting the way that I think and approach situations, conversations, and even challenges in my life. And I also left a almost 30-year career at a Fortune 500 company. I held a nice title. I was a vice president and senior consultant. When I worked for the bank, I did a lot of coaching. I coached people on how to be good at sales, or how to be a good leader, or how to make the best out of their performance. And through that coaching, I decided I want to coach people to be the best version of themselves. And that's why I decided to leave the bank and get back to some certifications. I got certified through the International Coaching Foundation on something called coactive coaching, which is a really cool coaching model where I take you and where you want to get to and get rid of all the stuff in the middle so that you can really be great at accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And I found that instead of coaching business people, entrepreneurs, and salespeople, I want to coach people on how to live a balanced and healthy life. So empty nesters is one that I am really good at coaching around. I love helping people to find fulfillment, purpose, and joy. And a lot of times in my coaching practice, I have people rate their happiness and rating it in the areas of finance and recreation and relationships, right? And really making sure that you're intentional about how you move forward in all of those areas. So that's me. Thanks for joining. And here's our agenda. This is what we're going to dive into today. We're going to really look at what some common challenges are when relationships shift, change, or end. So you know you're not alone. I think that's an important first step. There's a lot of people that are navigating changes in relationships, whether that be the death of a loved one or, grown children moving out and shifting relationships, even siblings or parents, moving away. It's very common to deal with these issues. So we'll talk through some of that. And we'll talk through why it can be a bit jarring, why it holds so much space so that it almost feels like we can't do the things we want to do because we're so focused on the gap that's left behind. And then we'll dive into 3 actionable tips. So you'll have something to take away today and apply to all of the shifting and changing relationships happening in your life. So to get the most out of today, I know it took a lot for you to get here. You had commitments that you had to consider and juggle. You had, different emotions that you were experiencing. So now that you're here, take the time to invest in yourself. This is a 1 hour, it's about 45 minutes, and then we'll leave time at the end for questions. But this is a time for you to really think through how to be intentional as we move into a new year. So keep an open mind. Everyone's journey is a little different. So I might talk about one stage of shifting relationships that doesn't apply to you, but wait, there will be some nuggets for you, I promise. Keep an open mind. Go to a quiet place, turn off your phone, turn off the distractions that are constantly hitting us all the time, right? People want our time and our attention. Shut it down and treat yourself to 60 minutes of focused and relaxed learning. There will be a chance, like I mentioned, for questions at the end. This is what those of you that have joined live get the benefit of having that time to ask any questions on your mind based on the material that I brought or anything else about shifting relationships. And finally, to get the most out of today, I encourage you to grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, because I do have some journal prompts, and I put some time in the presentation for you to start journaling, start writing down the answers to a few questions. So this really gets deep into your psyche, and it's something that you can take action on after we leave. Okay, so grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and let's jump in. Now, some of you might be thinking a lot about relationships. You have a right to have questions. You have a right to every single emotion that you're experiencing right now. And you may have a lot of questions about what may or may not work for you as you navigate shifting relationships. As a life coach, I love to meet people where they're at and help to bring you the next step forward. So whatever questions or emotions you're feeling about the changes in your life, know that by the end of this time together, you're going to have some tidbits that really help. I've made it my life's mission to help people to arrive at a better place when they're going through hard times. And so I'm going to help make sure you gain some insight on commonalities. I mentioned so many people are dealing with something very similar to what you're probably dealing with. So you'll hear about how others experience shifting and changing relationships, gain an understanding about why it happens, why our bodies and our chemistry and our psychology reacts the way that it does. You'll walk away with some actionable tips and finally create some intention behind how you want to navigate the change. So what are the commonalities? I call this all of the feelings. There's a lot of emotion that goes around when relationships change, everywhere from bereavement and grief to just a shift in the household energy. And believe it or not, your brain actually prefers boring. Your brain likes it when you're on cruise control and nothing's changing and you're just going about your day. Your brain is happy in that case. When things change, you could have an overwhelming feeling of just being overwhelmed. Like it's a lot, it's too much to hold. Some of my clients say it takes so much time and energy. It's like my whole psyche is just wrapped up in the fact that things are changing and it's hard to move on. I get stuck. That feeling of I'm stuck. I want to move forward, but I'm stuck. And then you might even experience some guilt. Um, when you talk about bereavement, bereavement's common when it comes to when a loved one passes away. It's socially acceptable to grieve, but sometimes people put a deadline on it and they say, well, it's been 6 months. Aren't you done grieving yet? Bereavement and grieving is a journey, and it's a lifelong journey. It's going to hit you in different spaces. And if you're grieving the loss of a changed relationship, the person's still there. They're just not in the same capacity as they were before. There's bereavement and grief going on, and it's not as socially acceptable and it's not talked about as much, but that grief that you're experiencing is real. Give yourself time to feel it and know that you are not alone. It's okay to feel this way. So why does this happen? Taking all of my studies in coaching and psychology and even some studies that I've read from Harvard, why does this happen? Well, when we lose something, we go into a state of grief, right? If we have a new routine, sometimes it's hard for us to navigate that new routine, and it's not easy for our brains to just shift. I'll read from a Harvard study on the impact of grief on the human body. It not only impacts our emotions and our mind, but it can physically impact us too. You're losing sleep, you're starting to, maybe your eating habits are changing, you're feeling more irritable, which creates just this kind of downward spiral. So there's a lot of reasons from a psychology standpoint of why this happens. My goal is to educate you just enough. Like, I've done a lot of studies on it, and my goal is to educate you just enough so that you understand you're not alone, it's normal, and there are some tricks that you can do to make it easier for yourself and navigate it a little bit better. So what are the tips? Let's jump into the tips. First tip, I'm going to help you today with some rewiring of your brain ideas, because when you're aware of something happening, it's easier to shift it or change it. Okay, this is a big shift, and it can make a big impact on your life, not just in shifting relationships, but in a lot of areas. So neural pathways, I'll get a little bit into the psychology of it. When you do something new, think about the first time that you went to a new group, first time you walked in the door and you didn't know anybody, and you didn't know if what you were wearing was right, if they're going to judge you, do I have something in my teeth, right? There's so much that you have to think about when you are starting something new. And our brain doesn't have any experience with it yet, so it's a little clunky. That's your neural pathway being very narrow and not quite formed yet. So as you do it, as you continue to try new things and you get out there and you go to the same group more than one time, that neural pathway widens and you get better at navigating this new journey. So instead of feeling clunky, it's almost like you're on a freeway, a huge freeway, and you just put your car in cruise control and you just go. Your body loves that. Your body thrives, your brain thrives on repetition and comfort. That comfort zone is formed over time, which can be both good and bad, because what you focus on expands. So if you're focused on the potential for loss, something coming that's not good, or looking too far into the past, everything you've been through, memories. It's good to have a memory to a point. If you stay there for too long, it can bring you to a bad place. And I spell this out as a downward spiral. This is where it starts with disappointment, and it could be disappointment over your loved one not answering their phone fast enough, or sending you a reply back, or whatever it is that they did that creates disappointment, can then lead to depression. And depression is an inward focused anger. You're angry, but it's focused inward, and you're becoming depressed. And when you're depressed, you're really self-centered. You're thinking of everything. It's all about me and poor me, and you go into this pity party place, right? And from there, you can get to a very dangerous place, which is isolation, where you're staying away from people. So it's the opposite of, that vibrant, connected, loving energy. You go into a very dark place. And you can stop it. This is where the rewiring of your brain happens. As soon as you find that feeling of disappointment, you can either acknowledge it if the person is, part of your life and say, oh, man, I really was hoping you'd do something different. Here's how I feel. Or if the person is not there, acknowledge that you're disappointed, but don't continue down that downward spiral. Stop it. And I'll give you some more tips on how, well, actually, let me just tell you now. So anxiety and gratitude cannot exist in your brain at the same time. If you're feeling anxious or disappointed, you can shift that by being grateful. What do I mean, be grateful? When you're worrying about the future or you're stuck in the past, you're not able to really appreciate what's happening right now. Gratitude is what's happening right now. It pulls you into the moment. It pulls you into the now, and it gives you that sense of being happy. And now, instead of isolating and going to that dark place, you are more willing to connect with others. You're grateful. And it could be something small, like here in Texas, it's been really snowy and icy and cold, but the sun came out today and the snow started to melt. So whatever that is, find something to be grateful for. Focus on that instead of focusing on the disappointment and going down that dangerous road. And something that's important, I wanted to make sure we talked about this when it comes to relationships. How do you want to be known? How do you love? How do you love with intention? And you've probably heard of something called agape love. This was actually a term that I hadn't heard until maybe 3 years ago. And agape love is such a beautiful thing. Agape love is not contingent on emotions or feelings, but it's an intentional act of will to care for others, even those who may not deserve it or return it. It's the love demonstrated in acts of kindness, service, and compassion, reflecting a commitment to the greater good. If you're in a state of mind of agape love, it's very difficult to be depressed. It's very difficult to be worried about the future. You're in the moment and you're feeling this love and this reason to be great in your relationships and be intentional with how you are known by others and how you show up in relationships. So let's do our first journaling activity. This is a couple of prompts that I want to get you to start thinking about. And I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to write your answers, and then we'll come back together. First question, what are a few triggers to be aware of? What are some things that disappoint you or that you've caught yourself in the past going, this is really not something that I like? What are some triggers? What can I be grateful for to shift gears? Gratitude is intentional. And then how will you stay connected to others? Being great in the relationships you have means staying connected to more people than if you're just, if there's just two of you, that's not enough people. You have to be connected to others. So take some time to answer these questions, and we'll come back in about 2 minutes. Go ahead and take it away. That was 2 minutes. You're already on your way to being more intentional. And if you started really getting in the flow of writing the answers to these questions, there's power in writing things down. And I encourage you to take the prompts offline and do more work either tomorrow morning or after we end the event today. Take some more time and write your answers. And we'll have a few more journal prompts here in just a minute. All right, so let's dig into the next tip. Tip number 2 is to declutter what no longer serves you. Some of my clients talk about pictures on the wall that just bring them sadness. So decluttering could be getting rid of things in your physical space. What's on top of the fridge? What's in your junk drawer? That's what I try to do at least once a year. What's in your closet that you haven't even worn in the last year? Or some call this, pick up the object, and if it doesn't bring you joy, put it down, right? But declutter what's in your space, what's in your physical space that's no longer serving you. Get rid of it. Donate it. Give it to people that need it. There's some great, actual pages on Facebook where you can just give things away, from a refrigerator to a pair of shoes. So give it away, sell it, get it out of your house. Get it out of your physical space. Even in your car, what's in your car that's not serving you? Get rid of it. Because when you declutter, you're making room for things that you want in your life. Okay, so what do you need to get rid of? And then rediscovering goals. This is all about direction. What's the direction of your life? And as a life coach, this is a big area we spend time on: building the dream, building where you want to go. So what are some areas that you need to rediscover? What are some goals that are important to you? We'll have a journal prompt in a minute. You can write some thoughts. And then lighten your load when it comes to commitments. How are you spending your time? Are you spending time and energy on things that serve you? Or are you spending time and energy on things that really deplete you? Are they filling up your cup, or are they depleting your cup and emptying it and pouring out suddenly all you have inside is the bad stuff that's going to pour out because you didn't fill up your cup? So declutter what no longer serves you. Here's a couple of journal prompts that we'll dive into. Write down 5 things you can donate, throw away, or repurpose. For New Year's, I actually encouraged people to do 100. What are 100 things that you can get rid of? And there's all kinds of ideas. Books you haven't read. I don't know. I'm looking around my room, things I need to declutter. What do you need to get rid of? Pick 5. Second, what activities, dreams, or hobbies have you set aside that really do bring you joy? And then finally, what relationships or activities are no longer serving me? Take 2 minutes and we'll come back together for our next tip. You're on your way to getting rid of things that don't serve you and fill up your cup with things that do. Again, if you started really getting in the flow with those questions, take some more time writing down some answers. Next tip, final tip is it's the most fun tip, it's filling up your cup. And you do this by creating a mindset routine, redefining your purpose, and then intentionally seeking joy. And this is where one of the prompts in a minute will be, what's your word of the year? Some of you might be aware of that and already doing it, but I'll give you some ideas on how to create one if you haven't already. So first, creating a mindset routine. I read a book called The Miracle Morning. This is a really popular book that talks about how to start your day. And there's a lot of statistics around if you do start your day this way, how successful you're going to be because you're in the right mindset from the beginning of the day. And I've had this same message repeated from coaches where they really focus in on what are we telling ourselves? What are we envisioning for our future? What are we telling ourselves is true? And if you don't have any kind of a routine where you do this, you might be absorbing little lies from everyone around you on who you are, when if you spend this time really focused on, and a couple of things to do in this morning, miracle morning or meditational mindset time, is meditation is good. Affirmations, who are you? Say it out loud and proud. I am, who are you? Declarations start with I will. So I am, I will. Prayer is a great area. Obviously, get connected that way. And even just spending time in silence. Envisioning the future is another big one. Really, picturing yourself in a great space. Or the meditation of gratitude, where you just fully immerse yourself. In my coaching practice, I love doing meditations with my clients where I help them get to a place where their mindset is full of gratitude and joy and peace and love and all good things. So be intentional, create a mindset routine in your life this year. Do it tomorrow, start right away, because if you don't, it's easy to get rid of it. Redefining your purpose. Where do you want to be in 6 to 12 months? One coaching activity I mentioned earlier is where you rate your happiness in recreation and romance, friends and family, health and finances. Coaching can help a lot here if you need ideas, or it's a good gauge I use with my clients to see where they start. And then as we go on in our coaching journey, the results that they're getting to, it's important to visit those milestones along the way. So what's your purpose? And then intentionally seeking joy. This is the format for word of the year. What do you want more of in your life? What do you want 2025 to be full of? And in terms of relationships, what do you want your relationships to be like? Remember, they start with you. It's nobody else's job but yours to create the relationships that are fulfilling and full of everything that you want. Intentionally seeking joy is a big one. And defining it, actually, before we go to the journal prompts, defining your word. I've had some people start off with negative words like conflict-free. Instead of conflict-free, what's a positive word that can replace that? And it should be an action word. For example, my word for 2025 is flow. And because I'm a coach and I love goal settings and words of the day and all of that, I actually have 3. So mine, I start with 1 if it's your first year doing it. Words are powerful. What you focus on expands. So flow and abundance and joy are my words for 2025. I want to be connected and filling the flow. I want to have a mindset of abundance and experience joy every single day. Because when I'm doing that, I show up as the best version of myself for my clients, my family, and my friends. So what do you want more of in 2025? We'll do a journal activity here for 2 minutes. And the questions are, what activities, dreams, or hobbies have I unintentionally set aside? Put some thought into what activities, dreams, or hobbies you want to focus more on in 2025. Secondly, what brings you joy and fulfillment? Third, what do I want more of in 2025? Just start thinking of the abundance and the possibility and the optimism of it all. What do you want more of in 2025? And then if a word floats to the top, write down your word for 2025. Take 2 minutes, and again, we'll come right back together as soon as 2 minutes is up. Right. Hopefully you've got some good juices flowing around this one and some good positive words filling your space today. And when you're intentional about what you want to create, what you focus on expands. So keep writing this down. One very important activity for me this year, I'm writing my 3 words down every single day, so that they're top of mind. It's easy to pick a word. Last year I picked a word and I didn't write it down every day and kind of faded in and out. So write it down, keep it somewhere visual. I even have one of the ladies on a empty nester blog or Facebook page that I'm on sells jewelry. So if you have a word, she'll put that word on a bracelet or something that you can see. So keep something visual, write it down, buy some jewelry. If you want her link, let me know and I'll send it to you. Okay, so those are the 3 tips. Today we talked about navigating shifting relationships with grace. We talked through common challenges and emotions. Humans are wired a certain way. It's part of how you were created. You are who you are because this is normal. This is the way that you were made. Challenges and emotions. We talked about why it happens so that you can really pinpoint when it starts to happen, how to stop going down a road you don't want to go down and go down the path you do. And the 3 actionable tips were rewire your brain, declutter what's not serving you, and then fill up your cup with things that do. We'll get to Q&A here next. But first, I would be a bad coach if I didn't have a call to action. And so I'm actually going to put this in chat. Let's see, chat. And I know some of you are joining on your phone, so if you need me to send it, I will be sending it in an email after the event today. But go ahead and open that up, open the link, and it's going to bring you to my calendar. You joined this call for a reason. This event was on your heart because of some shifting or changing relationships. if you want more, let's jump on a call together. And this is my gift to you. It's a no obligation. Let me meet you where you're at. We can clarify your goals together. What do you want more of in 2025, right? We can really dive into that and explore, what tips might help you. What are some expert recommendations that I can give you from my experience in life as a life coach, from my psychology studies, from my coaching certifications. I've got a lot of expert recommendations. So pick a time, get on my calendar, and through this discovery call, we'll see, I'll explain more about Better Together Life Coaching and see if we might be a good fit for each other. I'll be the first one to say if it's not a good fit or if I don't have a program to work, for you based on your needs. But a lot of people in just this 1 hour of time together get a lot of clarity around their journey. So consider scheduling that. And I'm going to read, this is a testimonial from one of my clients. Her name's Michelle, and she was having a hard time navigating the holidays as an empty nester because traditions were changing and she didn't really know how to shift with it. So here's what she had to say. She said, Barbara has been incredible helping me navigate life as an empty nester. Her guidance gave me clarity, confidence, and a renewed sense of purpose. Each session with her was filled with actionable steps and encouragement. I always left feeling inspired and empowered. I've rediscovered my passions and I actually feel excited about this new chapter. I cannot recommend Barbara highly enough. I'm going to also put in chat my website, and you can check out my website. Everyone has a different social media preference. Some of you like TikTok, some of you like YouTube. I've got all of the links to those at the bottom of my website. And for future live events, you can register for those there as well. And I actually am about to come out with a roadmap for empty nesters. So it's a free giveaway that people can use because it's such a journey. There's a lot of steps along the way. So I'm trying to meet everyone where they're at with a free giveaway with some knowledge. So check out my website, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording, and then